We're going to talk about left hamstring pathology. So here's a case example. Muscle tear, mid-belly of the left hamstring. Even though that muscle has partial tears in the fibers, it needs to be taken care of to allow the healing process. Ice, tape, needling, whatever those remedies may be. However, the thing that we need to think about is, why did this happen? It didn't just tear on its own just because this is the case of a running injury. So what we need to think about are the biomechanics of running. So when in running, the hamstring is actually lengthened at the most in the swing phase of running. So when we're pushing off and I'm using the left leg, right there is when it's extended the most. Well, look, even though the tear is on the left side, here's where the culprit is. Because if we don't have enough flexibility in the hip and the pelvis to do all three planes of motion, extension, abduction, and rotation, if that's tight, which in most people that front and inside of the hip is tight, especially on a dominant right side, we're not going to be able, we don't have the extension here, but the body says, I still need to get the movement. So what happens is we overextend, and that's where we can get tearing in the mid-muscle belly. So again, the culprit isn't here. To understand the biomechanics of running, knowing that we need extension, abduction, and rotation in the hip. So we need to work on two things: freeing up the front of the hip and the inside. So what we should aggressively be working on, again, allowing this hamstring to heal, going after this right hip. So we're going to do a couple different things. We're going to basically take the movements of running and create motion. So pressure on the right leg. Right here we're doing a 45-degree angle, what I call a front corner stretch. All the weight is on the right leg, and again, look what we're creating: extension, abduction, and rotation of the hip, exactly the components we need for running. So we're going to work on this, leaning forward, keeping the back straight, making sure we're not overarching, leaning forward through here. Okay, you want to add what we call a driver, right extremity, or right upper extremity, reach forward. If that's too much pressure on the leg, then you can back off to be back here. It actually may feel good to put a little strength through that left leg without directly irritating the hamstring. So then we want to do the same thing, going the other side. Adductors are a runner's nemesis. Everything gets tight and gunky through here. So this is a great place to start. Second one, we want to work on the right hip. Again, making sure we don't overextend from the back, leaning forward, reaching straight up. We're going to do three-dimensional stretch for the hip flexor. I'm going to show you what this looks like here. Straight up. Second one, up, drop to the right. What that looks like here, up, drop to one side. Drop to one side. We want to get pelvis moving. Need to make sure that the hands don't bend through here. You don't want to crank on the back. Notice that as you drop to the right, hip shifts, work on the inside. Third one, rotate down and to the right. Okay, front butt stretch for the hip flexor, three-dimensional, adductor stretch, taking in the front corner, going three ways: extension, abduction, and external rotation. Work on clearing out, giving that hip mobility. We got to work on getting the biomechanics back to have, so we can have the ability to go. We'll talk about stability and what to do, which you have to have the stability component after this.